Hi guys, welcome back. This is Sound Living in Oklahoma. I am Katie Durfelt and I serve the awesome people across the Oklahoma City metro area. And so I am coming on today to talk a little bit about the unexpected costs in the buying process, and more specifically about buyers' closing costs. So if you were watching last week, we talked about the seller's closing costs and what's kind of incorporated in those. And so this week I wanted to talk a little bit about the costs on the buying side. Okay, so all right, so when we're talking buyers closing costs, okay, so it's one of the most common mistakes that buyers make is when they're purchasing a house to not really prepare or not prepare themselves for the closing costs and all of those fees kind of at the end of the transaction. So if you're failing to really prepare for all of that, it can really blindside you at the very end. So it's something that you want to be aware of and kind of plan for. So here is the truth about buyers closing costs. So we already know that sellers are responsible for some of the fees associated in the closing cost transaction. So buyers in the Oklahoma City metro area, you can kind of expect to pay, I would say, and it's going to vary depending on the type of loan that you have, what lender you use. And so there's a lot that goes into it, which again is kind of why it's tricky to nail down an exact number. But you can kind of, a good estimate I would say would be anywhere between 4 and 6%. So if you, let's say a typical house, if you buy a house for $200,000, you can anticipate bringing about almost up to $8,000 to closing. And that's a large amount. People are already saving up for their down payment, and these closing costs are in addition to your down payment. So it really can be a big shock to people if it's not something that you're prepared for. So let's talk a little bit about how to prepare. So step one is that you want to find a really good local realtor in your area. Like myself, or if you know someone who is a realtor that you've been working with for a while, be sure to get with them when you're starting the buying process, so that way they can give you a lot of great resources. So I have a ton of great resources, things like a buyer's roadmap. You can get my buyer's guide. I have that. I think it's up on my website. If not, I will put that up here shortly. But buyer's guide, you can get an estimate of closing costs if you have a price range that you're kind of sticking to. Just a lot of things like that. So there's a ton of great resources out there. So that's where you want to start. You just want to be able to make sure you understand the process and understand what all goes into it. So step two, I would say you want to sit down with your realtor and work with them to understand the budget. So this is where you kind of might want an explanation of what all goes into closing costs. And so if you are in the Oklahoma City metro area, let's see, I wrote down a big long list of things that buyers are going to be responsible for on the closing cost end. And a lot of the fees associated a lot of them are associated with the lender fees, and that's why it's really, really important to make sure that you get hooked up with a good lender, okay? So some of the fees that you can expect to pay are the appraisal fee, application fees, processing fees, recording fees, title insurance for your lender, all of the inspections buyers are responsible for. If you have any loan discount points, that'll be part of it. Prepaid interest. Also, homeowners insurance, obviously. And then also the two things that are prorated that you'll see are the property tax. And again, that's gonna kind of shift how much closing costs depending on what time of year you buy, but So the seller, again, the seller pays that property tax up to the day of closing, and then the buyer will pay it for the remainder of the year. And the same goes for HOA fees. So if you are purchasing a home in an HOA community, you can expect to, typically they'll prorate those as well. So a lot goes into the closing costs, as you can see, but that's what you can kind of expect to pay at the very end. So step 3 is you want to prepare for anything, okay? So you want to make sure that you are prepared for anything. And for this, it's really kind of, it depends on the market that you're buying in. So are we in a seller's market? Are we in a buyer's market? And that's going to shift your strategy. So again, you want to work with your realtor and sit down with them and understand what the market is doing. Is it a buyer's market? Is it a seller's market? If it is a seller's market, that typically means there's a lot of competition out there. Homes are going fast. And so you may not be able to ask the seller for certain concessions, like having them pay part or all of your closing costs. However, on the flip side, if you are in a buyer's market, sometimes there's less competition. Sellers are wanting to get their home sold, and so that kind of gives you a little bit of leverage to see if the seller might pay for some of that stuff for you. So it just kind of depends on the season and what kind of market we're in. You'll want to talk to your real estate professional to see how that's going and kind of strategize the offers that you want to make and how you can make it work for you. So just kind of be prepared for all of that. All right, so now after we've talked about all that, if you are thinking that you might want some more information or you just need to talk through a little bit more on closing costs, if you have no idea where to start, I want you to please make sure that you're reaching out. You can either comment on this video, you can send me a direct message, and I'm happy to answer any questions. I mean, no pressure, no salesy, anything like that. So if you have a question, please feel free to, like I said, either comment or send me a message, and I will definitely get that answer to you. So finally, I wanted to make sure, if you're not already, I do have a business page where I share a ton of great community resources, events coming up, oh gosh, different like hotspots in the community and a lot of different things. So I share that all on my business page. So if you haven't liked and joined that, please make sure you're doing that. It is Sound Living in OK. So check that out. Also, if you are a Norman resident or you work in Norman, know somebody who does, I just launched a new Facebook group. It is called Locally Norman. It's a closed Facebook group, so it's kind of a tight-knit community of people who just like really want to support their community, really want to learn more about local stuff that's going on. So I created that just to make a platform for other people who might like to share and learn more about the community. So check that out. It is Locally Norman, and you can just search for that on Facebook. I'll actually, I'll link it down in the comments below. So if you're interested in joining, you can just click there. So again, if you have any questions, make sure to comment or shoot me a message, and I will definitely get back to you. If you are joining me on the replay, you can also feel free to comment your questions. I come back and I look at the comments and answer those as time goes on as well. So, all right, guys, thanks so much for joining me today, and I will catch you guys on the next episode. Bye.